Listen up or run for cover. Dropping knowledge from the people who have it to the people who need it. The real Bradley is dropping
What it is, Brad Lee back again with another episode of Dropping Bombs. Today in the studio, I got a little bit of a badass, Natalie Jill. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming in. Where'd you come from?
San Diego.
San Diego, is that where y'all live?
It's where we live, and it was an easy drive today.
That's a nice spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, like San Diego's a chill little town.
Yeah.
I like when I'm going there.
I love it. I always wonder why more people don't live there, but it's probably good that they don't. Get a little too crowded.
And folks, if you don't know Natalie Jill, she is on Instagram at Natalie Jill Fit, correct?
That is correct.
And then I said, why did you say, or why is it fit? Because obviously you know fitness, you're in fitness, but you also do personal development. Talk a little bit about what you do so they get a little taste.
Yeah, awesome. So I kill fat for a living, and people initially always think that's the fat on their bodies, which I absolutely can help kill that. But really, it's those what I call false assumed truths. It's these beliefs that people form around aging, around why they can't lose weight, around why they can't start their own business or get out of debt or whatever it is. I help them kill that false assumed truth so they can rewrite their story.
And you have a podcast too.
I do.
What's it called?
Leveling Up, Creating Everything from Nothing. And I've had guests like you on there.
And you have a lot of guests on there.
I do.
It's a great podcast, folks. You should go subscribe and review and rate her podcast. Now, I don't know if it's quite as real as Dropping Bombs because she's a little more politically correct than I am. However, hey,
just a little.
To each her own or their own, to each their own. But I like to keep it real for only one reason. Do you know why that is?
Why?
Because when you're called the real Brad Lee and you're fake in any way, you get really hammered.
I can see that.
So you can't be the real Brad Lee unless you're real.
Yeah.
See
you
what I'm
are
saying?
Real. Yeah. My few conversations I've had with you, you're very real.
Well, I think same reason you're killing false attitude or false assumed truth is the same reason I'm real. Because sometimes, and I'm not trying to be rude to people, but sometimes the real is what wakes them up. Like I've had people where I've said, look, this one guy was, a little overweight. He had like man boobs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, you got man boobs. He's like, oh, they're not that bad. Yes, they are, dude. They're terrible, as a matter of fact. And you have them. And guess what? He got rid of them. And he said, when I seen him next, he looked great. He said, dude, yeah, man, you just freaking embarrassed me. You said it right in front of everybody. And the next day I just started thinking, man, dude, I got to quit lying to myself.
Yeah.
So me and you are in the same business, really.
Yeah. I think it's so interesting, too, because you've shared a few stories about being super direct and giving people feedback. And I think so many people walk around so scared of offending people that we're not helping them by not offending. If we're just never saying anything or never calling people forth on what we're seeing, what's in it for them to change? They don't know it's that bad.
Yeah, and there's also two different things. There's opinion and counsel. You know the difference? Because successful people seek counsel and foolish people seek opinion. Opinion would be, hey, Natalie, what do you think of my podcast? And then you're like, I don't like it. And then I listen and stop. Well, that was your opinion because opinions change. But if I were to say, Natalie, how do you promote your podcast? And you say, well, here's what I do. That's counsel. Why? Because you're already doing it. Hey, Natalie, how do I stay youthful looking? That's me seeking counsel. Hey, Natalie, do you think I look youthful? That's opinion.
Yeah.
Because you might say no, but in your world, all you're seeing is a bunch of, Botox people.
Yeah.
Where I was referring to, do I look younger than my natural age without it? But that's opinion. So there's a difference.
Yeah. No, you're right. There is a difference. And I think most people are always willing to share their opinions and ask for opinions. And they let that dictate their future and what they're doing.
Yeah. And people are afraid to accept the truth.
Yes.
But you're not.
No, I'm not.
And not only that, but you're out there aimed at killing it.
I am aimed at killing it, especially with fat loss. People have so many stories.
Yeah, thyroid issues.
Yeah, and the thing is that we were talking about before we started recording here is that things are real. Like you might have a thyroid diagnosis, you might be aging, you might have whatever it is that you're told. But the problem is the meaning we associate with it. So if we say we have a thyroid problem, now I can't lose weight, we stop trying.
Yep.
Or you say I'm too old,
or I'm married,
or I'm married. You say I'm too old, then and you have this belief around it's too late because I'm too old. Then you stop trying. So it's about changing that belief set and knowing that it is possible, and that's a story you've told yourself.
Yeah. What do you think the number one thing, if people want to kill their fat, what they would do?
Yeah, the number one thing is they need to decide that they want to do it. It's a decision.
Those little bombs go off when I want people to listen up.
Yes.
Because it boils down to a decision, a choice, doesn't it?
It is fully a choice. And somebody saying, I've tried everything, or I want to try, or I'm thinking about trying, that's not a decision. A decision is, this is happening. I've decided. Without a doubt, it's happening. You said earlier, you would have abs if you wanted them. Yes, if you decided you wanted abs, I believe you would have them.
Oh, for sure. And I do have them. I mean, I want to let them show naturally.
You just don't want them under the layer.
Yeah, we all have abs.
They're just hiding for some people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it really boils down to a decision. So somebody that is really overweight and hurting, I get that they're hurting and they're in pain and they've been told they have all these things wrong with them, but it starts with this decision that it doesn't matter what they've been told, that it's happening.
Period.
Yeah.
And if they get pissed off enough, because enough people tell them like it is, ridicule them, make fun of them, when their pain gets so great that the pain of not being in shape is worse than being out of shape.
Yes.
That's usually when it changes.
Yes, absolutely.
You agree?
I totally agree with that. And it's okay to decide you don't want to, but don't keep blaming it on other things. My slogan's actually excuses or solutions, you decide. Because yes, you have excuses, but you also have a choice. Do you want to enroll people in your excuses and have them validated and stay stuck? Or do you want to stop validating your excuses and start looking for solutions to make it happen? And that's a decision.
It is. And it boils down to choices. There's a sign out in my little control room out there. It says, you can't get rich making poor choices.
You cannot.
And it's the truth.
Yeah.
And people don't understand, because I'm from a blue-collar family. I've told you my story.
Yes.
I've got brothers and sisters still. A couple of them work for me. A couple of them are just truckers and, blue-collar jobs, which there's nothing wrong with that. But what's wrong with it is they're always like, well, how do you do it? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, you're lucky or, but you're this and I'm not that way. It boils down to a frickin' choice.
Yes.
Wake up in the morning. Look at the choices you're making and frickin' change them and make those decisions. Like right now, everybody's capable. Every human being has the same opportunity as the other ones. Well, this person's dad's rich. Again, that's a situation that might give them a easier time, but it's just like a thyroid issue. Yeah, you got a thyroid issue. You got to work out harder. So what? Still can do it.
Yes.
Well, yeah, well, it's hard. It's twice as hard for me. So what? You can still do it. You want to get rich? Well, they had a rich dad. So what? You got to work harder. You don't get it handed to you. You don't get advantages and introductions, but you can still do it. And it's a choice. If someone wakes up tomorrow morning and says, okay, I'm making the choice to be successful. Mm-hmm. And it's not, I'm going to try to be successful. No. It is, I'm going to be, and you're willing to do whatever it takes. Guess what? I know you will be.
Yes. And I tell people all the time that it's not about me being mean to you, saying that I don't believe your excuse. I do believe your excuse. I hear your excuse. What I'm saying is that by me validating that and saying you're right, that sucks, how is there any hope for growth or improvement? Like, then I'm keeping you stuck. So that's my job as somebody to be your coach, to help break you through that, is to not be enrolled in your excuse and to help you find a possibility. Because the second I validate that, there is absolutely no chance of breaking through it.
Some people just want a hug, don't they?
They can have a hug, but
they want you to co-sign in their misery.
Yes.
And their excuses.
Yes.
It's like they're looking for you to validate their excuses, but you don't.
And it's not just me. They're looking for everybody to validate it. And that's the thing, is you could find evidence to validate any excuse that you want. All you have to do is go on Google, but it doesn't help get you unstuck.
So you said you used to be a little bit of a thunderous woman.
I was thunderous. When I had my daughter, I gained a lot of weight, and not just like because I was pregnant. It was because I was driving to McDonald's every day eating
Wasn't
French
it
fries.
fun though, honestly?
It was fun. I'm not gonna lie, it was
Why
fun.
why can't healthy food be bad for you and shit food be deliciously good for you?
But you know what, Brad? The thing is, it's fun in the moment. It's not fun afterwards. Like, you never feel good having that food. You feel good while you're doing it, but an hour later or the next morning, you
That's
don't
true.
feel good.
Hey, that's true. See, because sometimes I'll have my quote unquote cheat day,
Yeah.
and every time I wish I didn't cheat. Like, it's
Right.
like, why do I feel like shit? Well, you just ate like shit. Isn't that crazy? You eat like shit, you feel like shit.
Yes.
And then they're wondering, why can't I feel better?
Yeah.
And they don't realize it's starting to bleed into all kinds of things. Your depression,
So true.
your relationships, your freaking confidence. Confidence spins back to relationships and money.
Yep.
Like, dude, people don't get how easy, or I should say simple, because it's not
Yeah.
easy. It's simple.
It all goes together, and you start validating and living in one story or one excuse, it's going to come off in different areas of your life. So it's no wonder to me that there's a lot of women I work with that are overweight that also are having financial problems or having marital problems. It's like one that spirals into a lack of confidence, and then everything seems to go wrong in their life.
You help people with confidence.
That's the ultimate goal, because once they make a decision and they start having those breakthroughs and they start losing that weight, their whole confidence shifts. And when your confidence shifts, everything in your life shifts.
Seems to, doesn't it? How do you get someone to repair their confidence?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is they have to decide, like we were talking about, they have to make a decision. And then when women that work with me, they have to be okay with that mantra of excuses or solutions. You decide. If someone listening is offended by that, I'm not their person. I'm not their person. And then it's once they make a decision, it's getting clear on their vision, what it is that they want for their life. And the most important part is why they want it, because just wanting it because you're supposed to doesn't work either. You have to know. You mentioned earlier, you don't want abs because you had all your reasons. Great. It would be very hard for you to get them because you don't have a reason you want them. So that's the same thing with anything, with weight loss, with health, with losing any of it. You have to know why it is that you want it, which is that first step.
Yeah, that's the whole proverbial why.
Yeah, I call it a driving core motivator, because it's like, it's really it's the reason that's going to keep you going.
But do you have to have one? See, I'd have to argue that.
Why would you argue that?
Because I don't think you have to have one. I think it helps.
Well, if you don't have it, I could force you to lose weight. Like, if I'm going to lock you in a room and only give you certain foods and I'm going to make you do certain workouts, great. But then when you're left on your own, what happens is temptation, cravings, willpower goes out the window.
For
So
most
yes.
people.
So you could, but for most people, for a lot of people, if they have their real reason, their real why,
They
then
need to
it
tap
keeps them
into it.
going. They can
Yeah.
tap into it. Yeah.
So every time they start thinking, damn, dude, that freaking cronut looks amazing.
Exactly.
Do you know what a cronut is?
I'm assuming it's some type of donut.
It's a donut made out of croissant-like
gosh.
material. It's called a
Yeah?
cronut.
I've never had one of those.
Oh, boy.
Just
It's-
even the way you're saying it right now, you're tempting everyone into that.
Yeah, and then they put this maple. Oh, man. I'm
probably
telling
really
you.
good.
It's a diet killer for sure.
Right. So that's an example. You could be doing my workouts, you can be eating right, and then Brad puts a cronut in front of you and you're not feeling great about yourself in the moment, you're going to eat it. And that doesn't help. But if you're really clear on why you want something and why you're doing it, that starts to overtake that temptation.
Yep, you tap into that core, what'd you call it?
Driving core motivator.
Driving core motivator. Now, let's go psychologically deeper
Okay.
with people. Why do people not have confidence in the first place?
Ooh, that's a big question. I think a lot of it comes from a lot of people look for fulfillment from outside sources, from outside people. So when they stop getting that attention, then they start blaming it on they're not good enough or they're not enough. So that's that first jump at losing confidence. And that starts as a kid, fitting in with kids at school or who likes you. And then you start adding aging and everything else onto it, you start getting maybe less notice and you start internalizing that as to I'm not good enough. And that's where it starts. And then it's a vicious cycle if you start eating and you start adding on weight and it can kill your confidence.
Let me pose this and tell me what you think. If I were to, let's say, introduce you to somebody and that person lied to you, ripped you off, literally harmed you, let you down, constantly, what would you do with that person?
For me now,
Yeah.
I'd cut them out of my life. They would.
Now, what if that person was you?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I would still cut them off.
Well,
I would.
Even if it's you, you can't cut yourself
You can
off.
cut
You wake
yourself
up every day, you're together.
No.
There's no cutting yourself off from you other than suicide.
I'll tell you how you can, because we're all of us are the results of our thoughts and our actions. So all of our thoughts up till this point, every action we took is who we are right now today. So if we change our thoughts and our actions, we become an entirely different person. So yes, you can cut that old self off and become a new person, but it's a choice.
Yeah. Good one. See, she doesn't even know where I'm going with this, but that's true. But humor me. Mm-hmm. You can't cut yourself off. You're saying you can change. True. But you can't cut yourself off. You're still stuck with you. Now the question is, and where you went with it, is change your you. Mm-hmm. Yes, true. But most people would instantly say, well, I'd cut him off. I wouldn't talk to him anymore. Think about this. You've been letting yourself down for years, people. Mm-hmm. If you're driving around in your car right now listening to this, think about how many times you've lied to yourself legitimately. Like, I'm going to start Monday, and you didn't. Yeah. You start rationalizing. Well, I like to go deep and try to figure out why people are doing this. So let's just say, because it's true, we've all screwed ourselves more often than anyone else has screwed us over. Mm-hmm. If a person did it, we would eliminate them. That's an obvious answer. But when it's ourselves, we cannot eliminate ourselves. So what do? Well, in my opinion, and this is just a theory, we have a subconscious mind. Well, that thing's recording nonstop 24/7. And after a while, it knows, even if you're not conscious of it, because it's subconsciously, you're not conscious of it, but you know you're a piece of shit. You know that you've let yourself down. You know that you've lied. You know that you've harmed yourself. So subconsciously, maybe, I'm just saying maybe, you don't like yourself. So when you're like, hey, should I go work out? Your subconscious says, no, you don't need to do that. And that's its revenge on you. Yeah,
I love that you just brought that up, because, and I might have this number off, but I believe we have an average of about 30,000 thoughts a day that we don't even know we're thinking them. Just these repetitive thoughts of all those things you just said. And that is that internal voice that keeps in our subconscious. So when we say we're going to do something, if we're battling that voice, it's very hard to get ahead. And to make matters worse, we do it about where we want to go. I can't tell you how many women will say to me, I want to be, a size 6 and a tiny waist, and I want to be this hourglass and look like this. And then next thing you know, they see that woman walk in the gym in her little outfit that looks like that. And what are the women doing? They're talking, bitch, whore, slut. What is that? So then you're wondering why you're not achieving those results. Look what you're saying about that.
You're hating them.
You're hating them, and you're validating it with others. Yeah, same thing with money. A lot of hate on money.
Yeah. Well, you said earlier you got to first know what you want. That, for some people, is very difficult. For a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Like, I think getting what you want is much easier than figuring out what it is, because you have to be specific. Like, when I ask people, I get DM'd all day long with people, I'm 24 years old and I want to be this, and where do I start and what do I do and how do I make it? And I say, well, what do you like, what do you want to do? I want to be rich. Okay, well, what does that mean? Yeah. What is rich to you? You have to literally figure out what it is you want, and then you can map a way to get it, right? In general, I want to be successful. Okay, what does that mean? Because I could tell you what I think's successful, and you might not agree. So what is it you're trying to accomplish? What do you want to get? Well, I just want to make $1 million a year. A lot of people tell you that's not successful, first of all. Second of all, what about family? What about spiritual? What about physical? Mm-hmm. Like, what do you want your health to be? People don't realize that they'd give up money to get health anytime.
I love that you're saying this. In fact, in my programs, that's like in my full body reset program, that's what we spend the time doing, is figuring out what it is people want and helping people figure that out. Because if you don't know what you want and you start working on the how, when you kind of have an idea of what you want, but it's not really clear, that's when you never get happy. And people always say, I want to be happy. They want to be happy, but they don't know what it is they want to make them happy. So that is the gold right there, is figuring out and going deep and understanding what it is you actually want and why, and doing the work to know that. Once you get there, everything else is easy.
Yeah. I think being happy, that's another thing. Like, the word happy, I don't think it's possible for you to be happy until you love you. And that's most people's problem, because even if they do get in shape, I know some ripped dudes, 6-pack abs, they walk around like they're cool, but they're not happy because deep down, they're only buff because of an insecurity issue. And that is all they're doing, is trying to fill the hole with fitness. And they think if they have 6-packs that they're cool, but then they don't fill that void. And you know why? Because they never repair the first problem, and they don't love themselves. They really actually hate themselves.
Yeah.
A lot of people do, and they can't even figure it out. Do you want to know what I think when I see people? When I see people that are broke, I think, man, I wonder why they hate themselves.
Yeah.
I see them out of shape. Why do they hate themselves? I see them in bad relationships, bad jobs, bad situations. Anything negative, I just automatically think, I wonder why that person hates themselves. And what's funny is a lot of people don't even realize they do, because it's, I think, stemming from subconscious. These are just my opinions.
I think it's that voice in the back of her head, but I also think most people actually have that. Most people are so much more critical and judgmental on themselves than they are other people.
But where does that voice come from?
It comes from beliefs that they formed as a kid. So they were told something, they put a meaning on it, and that's now their story that they believe, and they'll keep looking for evidence to support that.
That's what they do too. See, you're learned, Natalie. Learned.
Learned. That's a good word.
Yeah, because dude, you know that most people don't.
Yeah.
Most people don't know shit. And that's what's crazy. I say they're asleep. My goal is to wake people up, because everyone has an opportunity. You ever heard of Nick Sananastasa?
Yeah, I've had him on my podcast as well.
Frick,
Incredible.
Dude. Yeah, that guy's like, dude, period.
Incredible.
Like, go look up Nick Sananastasa.
Yeah.
Listen to his content, and if you're still in negative dick shit, you're a dumbass. Period.
It's true.
Because if I were going to be negative, if I didn't have arms and legs, that would probably be what it requires. Well, guess what? Nick doesn't have arms or legs, and he's freaking living his best life.
He absolutely
He's
is.
working out in a gym. I'd be sitting there with no arms and no legs, fat for sure, because I would be making excuses saying, hey, I don't have arms or legs, leave me alone. He's not. He's out there freaking working out. He's out there skiing, water skiing, and everyone can say, well, that's easy for him. Shut the F up. Go look him up. It's not easy for him, but he's got the right mindset. See, he's got the right perspective. And that's why I say anyone can do anything if you just get the right perspective.
He told me when I interviewed him, and I loved this, he said that when he was a little kid, because he was born that way, his parents would say to him, they put food in front of him, and they'd say, figure it out. They didn't feed him. They said, figure it out. And they weren't doing that to be mean. They were doing it to help him in life, because if they taught him that we're going to enable and, oh, I'm sorry for you, this sucks, then he wasn't going to ever break through that. And because his parents took a stand that way, that was actually really loving, because look what he's created in his life now.
Yeah. Well, with the right mindset, because I know other people that are way less, I don't even want to say he's handicapped, because he's not. I know people fully limbed that are handicapped.
Yes.
He's not. But I know people that you would think is what society considers handicapped, that they're just sitting there sad and bitching and moaning over their ailment, when in reality it's perspective, dude.
You know, it's crazy, because I've worked with people that have had like hundreds of pounds to lose even, and they come in and they're one way. Like, they have all these excuses and diagnosis and validation across everywhere that they're big bone, genetics, whatever. Then they go through this process and they shed the weight, and they're healthy, they're fit, they're thriving, they're confident, all these things. And now they like forget who they were. They completely forget that they were that other person, because it's such a different angle, and they start thinking different and they act different. And it's just this completely different person all of a sudden. And that's why when earlier you said, what would you do with that person that was negative and mean and whatever? And I said, cut them off. That's what I see possible for people. But you have to decide that this is what you want, and decide you're not listening to that voice anymore, and that the past does not have to dictate who you are today and where you're going, and make that decision and clean it up.
See, how come more people don't just like, boom, that's all I needed? Because even though that is a fact, she just told you guys a fact, but some of you are going to listen to this and head on in and get yourself a donut. So why is it, do you think, people won't just listen to how easy it actually, or simple it actually is.
Because it's easier to stay in comfort zones. It feels good to be validated. It feels good to have your excuse validated. You get to stay comfortable. So that's comfortable. The problem is you think you're comfortable, but most of your life you're not. Like, you're comfortable at home on the couch. You're comfortable behind your computer screen. But are you really comfortable in life? Are you out creating things? Are you being passionate? Are you connecting with people? Are you having fun? Like, where are you sacrificing comfort in other areas for that? Because most people that are comfortable with the donut and sitting at home and being isolated, they're really not comfortable in life. They're missing passion. They're complaining about being older now. They think it's too late. And that stems from that.
You work out a lot?
Not as much as people think. I do, but not people think, oh, you work out hours and hours a day. I don't do that at all.
But you do.
Yeah,
work out.
I do work out.
And now you probably enjoy it. You crave it.
I do. Sometimes I don't, but most times, yes.
But remember before you did, when you were thunderous?
Oh, yeah. I didn't want to do it.
You dreaded it.
Yeah.
And now you seek it.
Totally.
It's the same thing. People don't know what comfort is. See, here's the thing. You think it's comfortable sitting on a couch, when in reality, that's uncomfortable to someone that's fit.
Yes.
Like, they cannot sit here and eat potato chips and watch TV. It's not comfortable for them. What's comfortable for them is actually uncomfortable for others.
True.
So again, this is why I'm going with perspective, because someone told me, listen, dude, it's just so difficult building a business and dealing with all the pain and you know, whatnot. And I said, dude, it's just as uncomfortable being broke. Like, dude, it's a bitch being broke, and it's a bitch being rich. So pick your bitch.
I like that.
I'd rather be a rich bitch than a broke bitch. So at the end of the day, dude, if it's going to be hard either way, because, dude, is it not hard looking for rent money? Is it not hard, being alone and, whatever the problems are? It's not always money, but at the same time, it's going to be a problem no matter what. So most people that are used to being broke, or they're used to being fat, or they're used to being unhealthy, or they're used to being depressed, that is comfortable for them because that's what they're used to. But what they don't understand is exactly the opposite of what they think is comfortable, which is uncomfortable. Once they do it enough, that's what becomes comfortable. And then it's uncomfortable living the way they used to live. So you just got to pick which one is going to be the most uncomfortable. And I'm telling you right now, when you have a fit body and you live longer and you have money in the bank so you can help yourself and others more. People say money doesn't buy happiness. I disagree. If you had a child sick and $100,000 would solve the problem, but you don't have it, now you're sad because you're sitting there basically watching your children go through suffering or whatever. Well, if you had that $100,000 and you wrote the check, it makes you feel really good. And you just bought happiness with money.
Yep, you're completely right. I believe that. And I believe the same thing about health and fitness. Like, it's selling out on yourself by saying, I can't, or it's not possible for me, and just being satisfied with that.
Yeah, and I think the rationalizing, because I do that the most. Like, I'm rationalizing why I don't have abs
You
earlier.
did it to me earlier, yeah.
Yeah, that's me
He
rationalizing.
said because he was married, by the way.
Yeah, I'm married. What the hell? What does she need abs for? Right? And by the way, you better get some if you're worried about mine. So she doesn't really,
It'll give you good Instagram photos. How about that?
Yeah, there's plenty of reasons I should have abs. And at the end of the day, I am about to go get them. So I'm
awesome.
And when I have them, I'm going to say, well, blah, blah, blah. But point being is, I rationalize.
Yes.
Just like every other human being on the world. The difference is I only rationalize lightly, meaning if I got rotund, if I became thunderous, because go look on my social media, like there's some times where it's like, I'm pretty hefty, but I'm not round and rotund. To me, it's like, how do you get to a point where it's like, holy shit, dude, go look at yourself. It's time to stop that. So I rationalize up to a point, which is why, I don't have abs, but I got pretty good this, pretty good that. So I'm like well-rounded, but rationalize I still do. How do we stop that?
Ooh, well, you have to want it. You have to decide that you want it. And it's funny because people rationalize on the other direction too, by the way. Like speaking of the abs, if you scroll Instagram and you see fit people with abs, the majority of people say Photoshop, that's fake. She looks like a man, whatever. Like it's people want to rationalize why that's bad then. So it's like no matter what, like we're going to rationalize why we're stuck someplace. We're going to rationalize why somebody else has what we want. Like it's a constant game of this rationalization. But what I want people to know is that what that means is you're selling out on yourself by spending so much time rationalizing. Like, stop doing that and start deciding to make a difference and go for what you actually want.
Now, don't you have a book?
I do have a book. I have a couple books, but the one that's hitting stores soon is called Aging in Reverse.
Aging in Reverse.
Aging in Reverse, yes.
Now, that's what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
Let's talk about aging in reverse, like a
Yeah.
Benjamin Button type thing.
Yeah. So, and that's not quite what it means, but what that means, first and foremost, is just because you're a certain age, it doesn't have to look the way you've been told by media and society. So I'm 47, for instance. I got that that's not old, that's not young, it's not whatever, but there's a lot of meaning towards women that are approaching 50 or women in their 50s and what that means. And what I want people to realize is your age means what you want it to mean. So if you want to still do things that you would have done at 30, you can do it. Like that's a decision. But just because you're a certain number doesn't mean it has to stop you in your life. It doesn't have to stop your fat loss efforts. It doesn't have to stop your health or your ambition or your goals or anything else. So it starts with that. It starts with that mindset shift.
Yeah. Yeah. I was hoping it had something to do with like anti-aging.
Yes. Well, there's that too. And that's going to be with nutrition and fitness, which I also have in the book. So yes, that's part 2 of it. But the first start of it is a decision. It's deciding that you're not going to listen to that. And then it's diving into like, how do you want to feel your body? Now, the reason that part's secondary is if you just follow a meal plan, like eat these foods to age in reverse, eat these foods to be younger, that's fine, but you're not going to stick to that because you don't really believe that it's possible for you or you don't know why you want it. So you have to do that work first. So then you know why it's important and then you do those things and it works.
What about going and repairing the problem? Because what's wrong with aging?
Well, nothing is wrong with getting older. You know, we all are going to age.
But that's society saying, ooh, 50-year-old women, gross. 50-year-old dudes, yuck.
Yeah.
I want a young guy.
Yeah.
Well, that's society. What about yourself?
Yeah, that's what we start believing, and then we start showing up that way.
Like, what if you look in the mirror and you love that wrinkle?
Yeah.
You love that you earned it.
Well, there's that method, or you can fix the wrinkle. Either way, I don't have a problem with either or.
Or like gray hair.
Yeah. And I won't be gray. I'll be 80. I'll be 90 or 100 without gray hair. By the way, so I have no issue with women that want to fix things, or that's whatever they want to do is fine. The point is not to let society dictate what you have to be or not be at a certain age. Like there's so many women that think it's too late to make money, have a business, have a passion, be hot. Like, I want to be hot. They're like, they think it's too late. That's not true. That's a false assumed truth. And they can decide they want it and then they can take the steps to get there.
But your metabolism does change. So it might be a little harder now or what?
Well, if you say so. Again, you could find evidence supporting your metabolism changes. You can also find evidence of many people who didn't have an issue. So yeah, if you're eating Big Macs and fries, you're going to have an issue. If you're eating fish and broccoli, that's not going to make a big difference on your body. So
can it be fish and asparagus?
It absolutely can. And the reason I say that, I'm not going to tell people just eat fish and asparagus or fish and broccoli, but I want that example to land for people because, yeah, you can't eat maybe how you were at 20 because if you were eating fast food and pizza and all that stuff and you're expecting it to work different on you, yeah, that has changed. However, if you take it seriously and you decide you're going to be fit, I'm the same weight I am now than I was when I was 20 before I got off track because I decided it's possible. So I'm not saying it's going to be easier or it might not be harder for you, but it is possible. You have to decide you want it and that you're going to go for it.
What do you think of these intermittent fasts lately?
So I have no issue with intermittent fasting or whatever diet people want to do. My question for people is why the extremes on things? Because it doesn't have to be that complicated. By unprocessing your diet and eating natural, real foods, whether you want to eat them all in 4 hours or you want to eat them in 12 hours is not going to make a big, huge difference. Now, if you're only eating processed foods and junk, that is going to make a difference. But it doesn't have to be as hard as people make it. I don't have a problem with keto or any of that. There's evidence with all of it. It just doesn't have to be as hard as people make it.
What do you follow?
unprocessing your diet. What I teach in Aging in Reverse and what I teach in Unprocessed
Just
Your
get
Diet.
rid of processed foods?
Like eating the majority of what you eat is natural, real, unprocessed foods. So foods that once grew. So meats, fish, loads of vegetables, nuts, seeds, avocado, anything, fruit even, anything that once grew.
And not all those based, because isn't all food kind of based with something that originally grew?
Well, yeah, but it gets so far away from it. If you pick up a package and you can't define half the ingredients, what is that doing for your body?
So where should someone go and eat? Like they should go to the store and get vegetables and go cook them and eat them.
Like just real food, things you would eat in nature. Like nature provides for us. Like I'm not saying go hunt and gather your own food, but you can do that in the grocery store very easily. So it's eating natural, real, unprocessed foods. And if you're going to combine things, great. And it's also not about all of the time. It's not about what you do 100% of the time. It's what you do 95% of the time. And then there's room for the Reese's peanut butter cup or whatever it is that you want, because what you're doing the majority of time makes less room for the bad stuff you're doing part of the time.
What is your cheat?
So I don't have like a cheat day, but what I do is the majority of what I eat is natural, unprocessed, real foods. And then, yeah, if you put
what'd you have for breakfast?
What I had for breakfast, I had turkey sausage without nitrates. So just like turkey sausage. I had a grapefruit. I had some berries, and I had some almonds. That's what I had for breakfast.
Now, most would be like, well, damn. You know what I had? I had a freaking ham and cheese omelet smothered in sour cream and cheese.
Yeah, and how's that working for you?
It was wonderful.
In the moment.
That's the keto.
In the moment, that's great.
That's why I like keto.
Yeah, okay.
You can get away with it. And keto works.
But
dude.
you had the bread on that? You said
I didn't say
you
no bread.
Did, okay, so you had the sandwich.
Hell no.
Got it. Okay.
See, if you ask me, here's my secret. No bread.
Yep.
No sugar.
Okay.
Anything else.
So that's great. And however.
And when I say bread, I meant pasta. And I meant bread. And I meant carbs, but not vegetable carbs, not natural carbs. Like, shit, you pick up a asparagus and there's carbs in it, pound away.
Yes.
Asparagus is not going to hurt you. I don't care how much. Now, load some butter on it. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with butter.
But if you mix up a little sauce on there and it's delicious and it's filled with sugar, you just messed it up.
So what you had, I wouldn't have too much of an issue with. I would challenge the dairy, especially for women as we age, because we do have more inflammation. So if anyone's dealing with like any kind of autoimmune or inflammation or pain, a lot of women complain about pain. Dairy is not going to help that. So that's the only thing I would change on that, is taking that away.
Taking the sour cream out.
Yes, taking the dairy away.
But keto's based on dairy, so you must not like keto.
Well, it depends on who you're talking to, because you could also do keto without dairy. You could do keto with meat.
That's more paleo.
Well, no, paleo.
Because keto wants you to have a bunch of butter and cheese and dairy.
It depends. You can do it. I could write a keto diet for somebody that has no dairy or butter, that had just by having the meat. And the idea of keto is the no carbs, is the getting really low on the carbs so that you're not secreting insulin. So your body produces
the deal?
ketones.
I thought it was. Yeah. I thought it was you're training your body to eat fat, so the fats were what's important.
Depends on what source you're getting it from. But the idea behind keto is to create ketones in your body, and you do that by not having a lot of starch and having a lot of sugar. Then your body secretes ketones, and that's what you use for energy then. So that's how that works. So you don't have to have dairy with that. I'm not a fan of that way of eating, because by limiting that many carbs, it's very hard to sustain that for a lifetime. Yes, does it work? Sure. But what I'm saying is you don't have to be that extreme with things. You could do things a little bit less extreme and still get results.
Yeah, I'm one of those extremists. Like if you said eat fish and asparagus for 6 months, well, I can do it.
You'll get those abs.
Will you though? Because I don't know if that's true.
If you legit ate, I would not tell anyone to do this, but if you look at like a bodybuilder diet or a fitness competitor diet, they're eating very low fat, they're eating high protein, and they're eating the low fibrous carbs like broccoli, asparagus, all of that. So it is a way to fat loss. That is not sustainable. It is not what I teach for general fat loss, because I think it's very difficult for most people to follow that. And I don't know that needs to, but you can get a result a lot of different ways. Same thing with business, Brad. You would say this: if someone wants to make $1 million, there's a lot of ways to get there. There's not just one way, but they get to decide that they want to make $1 million, that they're going to work hard for it. They're going to make things happen. They're going to have different thoughts and actions. There's a lot of methods. It's the same thing with the diet industry. Like, you want to get lean and fit. Step one is you still have to decide.
Do you have your own product yet?
Of course I have. Well, like a product that you take or product that you go through? No, I don't have my own product that you take.
Supplements.
Nope. not my own.
Why don't you get some?
I don't know. Maybe.
Because
Maybe
you got all these people that love your
Yeah.
content and like your attitude and style. They'd take your supplements just as opposed to somebody else's.
I've thought.
You ever heard of
something.
Suzanne Summers?
Of course.
Why do people buy those stupid toys of hers?
Yeah, because who she is. I
That's
love
right.
it. Yeah. Well, so they can.
She didn't invent the Thigh Master.
Yeah.
She found the Thigh Master.
Well, they can do my full body reset, and they don't need to do any supplements.
What's the full body reset?
My full body reset is 6 weeks. That's intense with me. So it's all done online and through group coaching, and it's that talk about how to change your mindset.
Are
and
there
change
tears
that.
involved?
They don't have to. You don't have
I
to
bet
have
you there
them.
have been, haven't they?
There definitely have been.
Because you're transforming
Probably not
people.
for me though. Probably not. Yeah, well, I think people feel it because especially when we get to their why and their driving core motivator and their vision and what they want, when they literally do that work with me to get to that, there's no holding back. So that's when everything changes.
Yeah, and then they cry.
Then they might cry.
Because you help find the answer.
They might cry.
See, I know people nowadays, they're looking for tears.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Like, dude, that's what means authenticity nowadays.
Yeah.
If you're a speaker, for example, go out on stage and start crying, you'll get way more attention than if you don't.
That doesn't come out of me. I'm not a crier, and it dates back to being a kid and my dad making fun of me for crying. So and people always say, "Oh, that's so sad." It wasn't. I just learned that you're not supposed to cry. So I've had to work at bringing out the crying. Doesn't mean we don't feel, but I'm not a crier.
Yeah, me either. I try to on occasion, like,
You try to.
yeah, but it never happens.
Yeah, I'm not good at it.
Especially when people die, like people get real sad about that.
Yeah.
And in my mind, dude, we're all gonna die. So someone died. Okay. Well, again, it's sad that we don't get to hang out with them anymore. But at the end of the day,
Yeah.
you're going to be dead too soon. So instead of sitting there crying over someone died
depressing.
earlier, get busy. Because guess what? This life is short. Would you agree?
It is absolutely short.
Dude, it's
yeah.
freaking over in a day.
Yeah.
Every day I wake up, I'm grateful to be alive. You know why? Because we're not guaranteed every day.
No,
Would
we're
you
not.
rather get $1 million every morning or live?
Live?
And yet you get that every time you wake up, but nobody's excited as if they got $1 million.
Isn't that crazy?
And
You're right.
admittedly, nobody would rather take $1 million over life. So everybody I've ever asked that to says life. Okay, well, you get life every day. The news you get when you wake up is such good news, but nobody appreciates
That's
it.
brilliant.
Why is that?
Yeah, that is a good question.
Conditioning.
Yeah.
It's conditioning. It's taking shit for granted. If I told you, this is your last day, you and your husband out there better go enjoy, because I'm going to come into your guys' room after you go to sleep. It's inevitable. You can't stop it. Just go live all you want tonight. But when you go to sleep, you will both be dead. And let's say I was rumored
Wow,
to
that
have done it a
sounded really
million times.
Kind of creepy and scary.
Yeah, but think about
we
it.
will not tell you what we're saying tonight.
Because I want people to think about this.
Yeah,
And you believed it, let's say. Again, we're just pretending here.
totally.
And then you guys fought going to sleep, because you would, until eventually your body just couldn't go anymore. And then you would finally doze off. Well, when you woke up and realized you didn't get killed, it's not over, how would you feel?
You're grateful. You're right.
If you were totally believing,
like surprised,
that
grateful,
was it.
like oh my gosh.
Oh my God, you'd wake up so excited, and your kids would come in the room, and you'd be grateful they're there, not saying, "Shh, quit making noise, I'm sleeping." If someone could just
Yeah.
fix their perspective on life and stop taking simple shit for granted, I think people would find happiness much quicker,
So brilliant.
because they are happy. You're probably happy. You just have the wrong perspective, which makes you unhappy, or at least falsely believing you're unhappy. Like
So-
people think you need a car to be happy. Dude, you need life to be happy. That's all you need.
Brilliant.
Wake up and live. And then figure out what you want. Because, dude, I need some hobbies.
Yeah. And that's what you said is another step with people, is that gratitude. And that's amazing. And I will share that for people that don't know your story, which many of your listeners I'm sure do. When I interviewed you, I'll never forget, I asked for a failure or a hardship or the worst time in your life. And you said, I don't have one. And I said, and my initial thought was, oh, here we go. Perfect life. And then you said, well, like, for example, I was homeless living on the beach, but I was living on the beach. And I loved that. And I always share that example because it's truly incredible that here you were homeless with nothing, living on the beach, and all you looked at is I'm living on the beach.
Yeah,
It's
that's
amazing.
That's perspective. And no one taught me how to do it. I think I was just one of those lucky people that appreciated thing. I don't know why. And it wasn't, well, you grew up poor. And no, it's just, I think maybe I was just blessed with the right perspective, because I have a lot of problems like anyone else, but I started learning young perspective. You ever heard I was pissed off that I had no shoes till I met a man with no feet?
Of course.
Like, again, you're mad at your shoes?
Yeah.
Chop your foot off. You'd be like really happy that you had a pair of shoes, period.
Yes.
Or that you had something, the shoes go on.
It's so true.
And then you go, oh, well, now I'm pissed because I got no feet. Chop your damn legs off. Now you wish you had your stumps back. And then I'm going to chop your arms off. And it'll keep going until you're done. Here's what I always like to tell people. Go to bed at night. Thank God or whoever you believe in, each other, whatever. Thank somebody for everything that you have that you want to keep, because if you're not grateful going to sleep, you'll wake up and it'll be gone.
Wow.
What would you have when you woke up?
Wow.
Like last night, if you went to bed and were not grateful for him, grateful for your car, grateful for your health, grateful for your daughter, you'd wake up, they just wouldn't be there. They'd go away. We'd go to bed thanking people for food and money, and even if it's nothing, that's a perspective.
That's amazing.
So if you are out there driving around in your vehicle saying, well, how do I use that? Just remember, if you had nothing, you would be 20,000 times worse off. Even if right now you're making minimum wage, driving around in a shitbox car and everyone's laughing at you, and you feel like a loser rolling up to a party, because people do. That's society's stupidity. In reality, think about it, dude. You got transportation. You can get from A to B, which is all you need to get to the next level. So, like, I was pumped up when I got my first vehicle. I didn't care that it wasn't a freaking Ferrari. How about you?
Yeah, same thing. I remember my first car, totally pumped up about it, and was super grateful for it. And I remember, I had a Chrysler LeBaron. I remember that was my first car.
Were you pumped?
I was super pumped.
That's because you didn't have one, and now you got one. And now there's people out there with like Ferraris, and now, oh, you're a chump with a LeBaron now? Who says? To me, that's perspective.
You're right.
And if someone can just correct that, then they start to repair everything else. So I'm trying to figure out right now, how do you repair the deep down?
Yeah.
I'm thinking it boils down to focus at inward. Like, it's all about you. It's not about outside world. It's like, I feel stupid driving up in a LeBaron. Why? Why do you feel stupid? If no one on earth gave a shit, would you care if you drove in a LeBaron or a Ferrari?
Right. You wouldn't. But I would think too that if you stay stuck trying to solve the same problem in your head, though, like you said, you go internal, but if you try to solve and change perspective just from your own mind, sometimes that's limiting. Where if you want to find evidence with somebody that's doing what it is that you want to shift into, because then you have outside perspective, and that helps make you realize that it's possible. So like if you're just in your head with your own stories and your own past and your own belief set, you can try to change perspective, but I feel that you would need other examples of people doing it so you can see that it's even possible.
Well, true. I would agree. But because you need the right knowledge. That's why people aren't succeeding. They don't have the right knowledge.
Yes.
Most people. Some people just don't want to succeed, believe it or not. But if you want to succeed and you can't seem to succeed, I want to lose weight, but I don't know how. I'm not getting the results. I need to seek out knowledge.
Yes.
But I also think deep down is the problem. It's the problem. And I think it might be even subconscious. Why? Well, because if you hate yourself subconsciously, you ever heard of a self-sabotager or saboteur?
Of course.
Yeah, it's like these people that every time they start to do well, something makes them crash again. And I think it's their head that does it. They're deep down, you said battling that voice. Let's call it the voice. The voice is saying you don't deserve it. The voice is saying, no. You need to remain fat. You are not allowed to be happy. The problem is we don't hear it saying that, or it would be obvious and we could fix it. You know what we hear? Well, I've been working out for 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
You did a good job, kid. Mm-hmm. Take a few days off. Hey, man, this bed's kind of warm. And you know what? You got a meeting in an hour. Skip the cardio.
Yeah.
And then you start rationalizing. You start going, yeah, you know what? That's true. And really, it might be yourself screwing yourself. Like, in other words, like if I really hate you and I want to get revenge on you, what if it's that?
So true. And I've seen a pattern with, especially if you have been fit at one time, like when it comes to fat loss, for example, if you've been fit at one time and you're out of shape, it's easier to get back because you know it's possible for you. Where if you have never been fit, you will constantly go into self-sabotage because you don't believe you ever really can be. So as you start to, and then you're like, oh, well, what's the point? I haven't been able to get there before. So I don't feel like it right now. So you keep repeating that pattern because you don't have evidence of the opposite yet.
How old's your daughter?
She's 11.
Now, if you knew you were gone tomorrow and you could only tell her 3 things to ensure that she has the best life possible.
Oh my gosh.
3 lessons, rules, beliefs, and she would believe them all, but you could only give her 3. What would they be?
Take responsibility.
Good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Because as soon as we go into blame and victim, there's no possibility for us. So take responsibility. 2 would be to keep daydreaming, because I was told as a kid that I was always tuning out, daydreaming, like if Natalie would just pay attention. But daydreaming is what builds this world. It's what we need creative wise. I think dreaming is important. So I would say keep daydreaming. And the 3rd thing would be that you're enough. You're enough. You're loved and you're enough just the way you are.
Believe in yourself. Those are 3 good ones. Now, if you could tell the Bomb Squad 3 things for them to get the biggest and best version of you, where would they go?
The best version of themselves or
no,
of me?
You.
Of me.
Yeah, like in other words, where do they follow you? Where do they find you?
Yeah, so Natalie Jill Fit on all social media. If they are serious and they like what I'm saying and they are really committed to changing, then do the Full Body Reset. And
where do they find that?
thefullbodyreset.com.
Thefullbodyreset.com. There's probably a lot of men listening too. Can they do it?
Yeah, men can absolutely do it. Women tend to gravitate towards me for this more, but it absolutely can help men as well. So no problem there. And the 3rd thing would be my podcast, Leveling Up. And I'm 4, Aging in Reverse, my book.
How long have you had your podcast?
Podcast has been out for about 6 months, but
You have quite a few episodes.
I have quite a few episodes. I've got amazing guests, all about people that changed their mindset and leveled up their life.
Awesome. And then the book, the new book.
Yeah, Aging in Reverse.
Where do they get it?
All stores everywhere. You can pre-order it now. It hits stores in May, but you can pre-order it online on Amazon, anywhere right now.
And not only that, it would help to pre-order it.
Yes.
So Bomb Squad, help Natalie out. Go out and order her book. Even if you're not interested, buy it for a friend. Make sure you leave a little comment, #Bomb Squad, so she knows the Bomb Squad helped her out. But more importantly, buy the book for yourselves, because it's not really aging in reverse. It's kind of like kill this false.
Kill the fat.
Yeah, it's kill the fat, and not meaning fat. We're
false
talking
assumed truths.
Yeah, and so that's really a success type of thing. Personal development.
Yes, absolutely.
Health, and a body's just a part of it. It's more than that.
Yeah, and there's don't worry for people that want just the nutrition. I've got the nutrition and the workouts in there, but I'm not gonna let you off the hook. There is the changing your state part.
You're gonna fix the people.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you and your husband coming up. I hope you enjoy Vegas. Bomb Squad, listen, go follow Natalie at Natalie Jill Fit. Get her book. Go pre-order it on Amazon, wherever you get books from. Go to the website.
thefullbodyreset.com.
Yep. And then make sure you #Bomb Squad. Share this out. You know someone who you love that needs to hear it. And we're trying to get the last 16 people that aren't subscribed. So I appreciate you. Until next time.
Thank you so much. I love your questions.